Thanks for coming back to the channel and welcome to the first video I'm doing around the January 2025 Crafty Crew Kit from the Crafty Stamp Co. And I'll be highlighting some of their kits in the future, so I'm looking forward to that because they do the cutest little images and I'm a big fan. If you remember the Yetis from back in the day, this is the same company. They just launched a box basically, and it's going to be a bi-monthly box. And let me just run through the details quick, and then we'll get our card together because I think we all like making a card. We're going to be using a sketch I've used a couple times before, but it's really one of my favorites. Each box is going to include two photopolymer clear stamp sets, a pad of 6x6 paper, a extra of some sort, and a stencil. And those are going to be coming out. So they'll be coming out in January, March, etc. And for each box, there's going to be sort of a pre order period the month prior. So the current one is running through the 15th of December. So if you want to get this, check that out. There will be a link down below, which is an affiliate link. So, I always appreciate that. Um, and all the contents of the boxes will be exclusive for at least 6 months. So basically, you'll be getting to play with things before a whole bunch of other people. And I think that's pretty much it. Like most boxes, if you want to subscribe, that will give you a better price point, or you can, buy them a la carte as you prefer. And this is from their new vintage romance pad, and I really like all the topography in here. Like it has a real cool vibe. And then I just grabbed a embossing folder from my stash and did it's sort of a lacy floral kind of thing. It's a little hard to see. Basically, I just wanted a little more texture on the background. But I was looking at our dude and I wanted to put him on something where he was highlighted, but I do want to kind of spotlight him a little bit, so I'm going to grab some pink ink to do that. And you can either tap off. I tend to just do the edges first. And if we get any like really spotty areas, we can just put him over those. I'm not looking for like, I don't know, like a super clean blend because this does have this kind of vintage feel. So like if it's a little, I don't know, if there's a little bit of variation in it, I think that'll actually add to the overall effect. So I think that's pretty good. There are a couple areas I just want to bring in a little more pink. This pad actually doesn't have any pink in it. It's much more of a red color, which is why there's some interesting coloring choices on our dude that I can walk you through. I'm curious if you guys actually like watching coloring because I could have colored this on camera or another thing I've seen I think some people like as well is you can also basically speed color while you're doing everything else. So basically for this design, how we're going to lay this out is it's just going to be three circles. And I decided that like a deckled edge would kind of match our little fun vibe. So this, as you can see, is a really vibrant, like a very dark red, kind of like his tie. And then let me make sure I put this. This is right side up. So then we'll do it like this. I'm going to keep a little bit of a border, and then I'm going to have him sort of in the center. But I kind of want to shift this up so I have room for a sentiment. I think the sentiment I'm also going to mat on some dark red. But basically, this is how our card's going to go together. And then let's just slide all this up. Let's just start at the top. Oh, I'm kind of liking this. So I kind of like just floating the sentiment here to have him like sitting on the sentiment almost. Yeah, I think that's going to look really cool. So let us just, we can just put this down. And these are the sentiment and the image are from the same stamp set in the January box. I just really like this. You're the person I want to annoy for the rest of my life. I can think of a number of friends for whom that sentiment applies quite well. So here we go. Let us just put a little glue on the back here. And I want a really thin border because this, again, is a pretty vibrant red. And because the card is mostly a neutral, I want to kind of keep that vibe. typically with sediments, I will glue them down and then just fussy cut them out because I feel like it's easier to get the like a fine border that way. But obviously, you can do whatever you like. And I like the neutral vibe of this. That's I think I don't usually do gray hair, but his hair is actually warm gray versus like a more natural color. I do really like non-natural hair color in my coloring because it's just fun. Anyway, I think we could bring in, let's see what kind of a card base we want. We could bring in like a craft card base. Yeah, I think this is going to look really cool. I'm liking this. So let's see. I think white actually makes sense because that would match up really well the with the sentiment. So that would sort of tie all that together. But I'm liking this. It's got a very I don't know, almost like the Melanie colors with the red almost gives me an anime vibe for some reason. I'm not sure why. And here we have just a top folding A2. I made this out of fairly heavyweight paper just because I feel like that feel always feels a little bit better. And then this is sort of how our pieces are going to go together. So the rest of this becomes pretty straightforward. And I really appreciated with this stamp set that they're both sort of Valentine's Day sort of love sentiments, but there's also some good friend sentiments as well. Because I always find I tend to use the friend sentiments more. I think just because most of the people I know now are sort of out of the romantic phase. Well, at least out of the early romantic phase of being in love with folks. So I feel like it's just kind of nice. Ooh, I'm liking this with the thin white quarter. Okay, so let us just get everything down. I think I'm going to continue using wet glue just because this embossing, I want things to stick to it pretty well. And with this type, I'm going to just be careful that I'm uh, putting it right side up. A lot of it's covered up, so I don't know if anyone would necessarily notice if it was upside down, but I'm sure I have friends who would. So here we go. And we can sort of decide how much of the paper we want. The closer you put your circles together, the less paper you'll show. I'm generally like to showcase a bit of paper because I like how vintage this looks. It just makes me happy. So I think we're gonna then put this circle down. I think we're going to pop up our dude though. Let's just rotate this so sort of the darker points are a little bit that gonna get covered up a little bit so that we have more space. Then we can think about our sentiment. Yeah, I'm glad we went with a white card base. So we could sort of what we could do is we could I like how he's just sort of popping out of here too. Um so we could have the sentiment down here, or we could have it I kind of like it centered under him, even though it makes it a little off center with the card. But I like that because it feels like he's sort of sitting on the sentiment, which I think is a neat look. So let me glue this down and then I always tend to do my focal image last because usually it's the thing I've spent the most time on. So if I had to, rip it apart, I would be sad. Although I kind of tend towards like a flat coloring style anyway. So I don't like my coloring usually isn't as much of a production as some folks. But I really always admire people who do neat color. I kind of like him. Do we like him a little? Yeah, I like his sort of his center of mass kind of in the center, but I like how his head is sort of in the center of all three circles. So I really like how this came out. Now, if you wanted to, you could certainly add some bling, dark red, or like a copper color, I think would look good. Let me just give you a close up of this. But I really like how this turned out. I think it's interesting. I really like this dark red with the coral, which is not a color combo I would have picked. I also tend to, I didn't want to do a color on his hair just because I knew I wanted his clothing to be sort of in the pink red color family, and I didn't want it to have something that was like totally pull focus. I like in this how he's sort of the center of attention, but not like to the point that you don't notice the rest of the card. But anyway, thanks for checking this out. If you're interested in the box, there is a link down below. And this was all made just basically from the pattern paper and one stamp set. So if you come back in a week, I will show you something I made from the other one, just so that you can see that even in a single box, you just have a tremendous range. Anyway, thanks for checking this out and have a fantastic rest of your day.